and it was just so good. Hello, my sweet angels, it's your girl Jay, and today I'm here with my top 10 best books for 2024. Most of these are 5 out of 5 stars. I believe that there is one that I rated a 4.5 out of 5 stars, but regardless, these are my favorite of 2024. So without further ado, let us get started. So coming in at number 10 is The Temptation of Magic. This is by Megan Scott. This is the one that I gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This one follows Nicole Palmer. She is an Imperial, which means that she is a supernatural shapeshifter. Her kind is hunted by the Wake, which is the organization that governs all supernatural beings. After the death of her mother, Nicole is searching for an encrypted code that her mother left behind in a supernatural art exhibit. In search of this collection, she finds herself in the presence of Kane McCarter, who is a Wake assassin on the hunt. This is a forbidden love trope, which is one of my favorites, and Kyan and Nicole are complete opposites, but they had such good chemistry. It was also a one-sided enemies to lovers because for the majority of the story, Kyan doesn't know that Nicole is an Imperial, so Nicole is actively hating on Kyan and Kyan has no idea. And it was just so good. It was just so much fun to watch them trust each other as their story progressed. And also, Kyan is probably one of my favorite characters that I read about this year. His backstory is just so heartbreaking. You could not help but absolutely fall in love with this man. This is apparently the author's debut novel, which blew my mind because it does not feel that way at all. It does drag a little bit in the middle, which is why I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. But honestly, the story as a whole is a 5 out of 5 stars. So. Coming in at number 9, we have Practical Rules for Cursed Witches. This is by Kayla Cottingham, and I loved this. So in this world, in order for witches to keep their magic, they have to complete their calling within 6 months. All of the females in Delilah's family have been cursed with never finding true love, so Delilah decides that her calling is going to be to break her family's curse. Unfortunately for Delilah, her calling is hijacked by Kieran Pelumbra, who enacts the rite of morality, which is essentially anybody who is suffering from a deadly curse can ask for a witch's assistance and they have to help. The Pelumbras are a very wealthy family, but every generation they are cursed by a set of twins who end up draining the life from one another. One must die in order to keep the family's wealth going, and so Kieran and Delilah set off to find Kieran's twin sister Briar before she sucks the life out of him, and it's like the story of that. This story is so fast-paced. I flew through it in one sitting and absolutely fell in love with these characters. Honestly, every single one of them have such unique personalities and they didn't feel one note at all. Delilah is a fellow 6-foot baddie and I absolutely loved her. I probably wouldn't call her a baddie. She's very awkward, but she's very fierce and very loyal. And then we have Briar, who was definitely the grump to Delilah's sunshine, which is one of my favorite tropes. We all know this. And then Kieran was just such a little baby cinnamon roll. Honestly, the found family in this was so well done. I honestly wish that there was a second book coming in this, but I believe that it is a standalone, but I don't want to be done with these characters. It was so much fun. Coming in at number 8 is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This was my first Emily Henry book. Obviously, I loved it since it made its way onto my favorites list. This one follows Harriet and Wynne. They have been broken up for 6 months, but their friend group does not know that. The group attends a yearly getaway to their happy place, which is a cottage up in Maine. So this year they have to try to trick their friends into thinking that they're still together while actively trying to deny their chemistry and attraction to one another. So like I said, this was my first Emily Henry book, but I will definitely be checking out her other stories because I was obsessed with these characters. All of these characters just feel like real people and they are all so relatable. I was so invested in Wynne and Harriet's relationship. Like, I was rooting for them so hard. I think that their banter with one another was so much fun, and honestly the dynamic between them from the very beginning was just so engaging. I thought it was so funny that they just kept trying to one-up each other. It made for some pretty funny scenes. I also think that Emily Henry did an amazing job with going from the past and the present, because it really helped us see that Harriet and Wynne really did love each other, and it allowed us to see how their relationship progressed and then ultimately fell apart, which I think really did help you care for these characters so much more. It also allowed us to feel more connected to the side characters because we got to see them in their college years and then in their adult years, and it really helped kind of see how they had changed throughout the years. I just absolutely love this, and I don't know why I put off reading Emily Henry for so long, but like I said, I will be checking out more very soon. So let me know down in the comments which ones you think I should read next, because I have read none of them. Coming in at number 7, we have The Darkness Within Us by Trisha Levenseller. This is the sequel, which isn't really a sequel, but like the companion novel to The Shadows Between Us. This one follows Chrysantha, who is Alessandra, the main character from the first book, her older sister. She has always played the naive girl card to try to advance her status in the world. She has just married a much older man in the hopes that he will meet his early demise in order for her to get all of the fortune. Unfortunately, it is taking a little bit longer than she thought it would, so she decides that she's going to take matters into her own hands. Just when she thinks she is finally free of her abusive husband, a man named Erix shows up, claiming to be the next duke of the estate. You definitely don't need to read the first book in order to pick this one up, but I do think that you should read the first book because it kind of gives you an idea of who Chrysantha is, and it makes you feel a lot more connected to her as a character. She was so cunning, and I loved every second of it. She played the dumb blonde so well, and then with a snap of her fingers, she is this like bad bitch. We definitely get a whole different side of Chrysantha from what Alessandra described in her point of view in the first book, which I thought was very interesting. I also really loved Erix. I think that the banter between him and Chrysantha was so well done. I do think that the book would have benefited if we had gotten a point of view from Erix as well to kind of see inside his head, but we did get a cameo from Alessandra and Callias near the very end of the story, which I thought was a lot of fun. Next up, coming in at number 6, is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kremer. And honestly, now that I think of it, these two books are kind of a little similar. If you've read it, you might know what I'm talking about. This one is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which I am a sucker for retellings. We all know this by now, but I loved this one. This one follows Prince Ren, who after being cursed by an evil enchantress, turns into a bloodthirsty beast that wreaks havoc on the city every year. In order to break the curse, he needs a woman to fall in love with him. Harper Lacey is kidnapped from the streets of Washington, D.C. by mistake, and she is brought to Emberfall in the hopes that she will fall in love with the prince and break the curse. I put this book off for so long because I was so worried that I wasn't going to enjoy it, which is so silly because I loved Defy the Night by this author. Right from the very first chapter, I was instantly hooked on this story and these characters. Harper is such a fun character. She has cerebral palsy, but she does not let that be anything that is going to stop her from doing what she wants to do. She was so strong-willed and determined, and I absolutely love that about her. I loved that she did not put up with any bullshit from Prince Ren, or anybody for that matter. I was also a huge fan of Prince Ren. I loved how he tried to outsmart the evil enchantress by the end of the book. I thought it was a very clever plan. I really enjoyed how Prince Ren thought that Harper would never fall in love with him and therefore he wasn't going to try to make her fall in love. And I feel like because of that, their bond was a lot more genuine. I think the slow burn aspect was really well done. It was really sweet to see Harper learn to trust Ren and how they started to work together to defeat the enchantress in the end. I am so mad because I do not own the next 2 books in the series and we are left on such a cliffhanger in this book. Like, I desperately need the next 2 and I still don't have them. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I really do need to go pick them up from the bookstore. We're now at our top 5 of 2024. Coming in at number 5 is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I feel like a Taylor Jenkins Reid book is on every single one of my yearly wrap-up favorites of the year. I just think she is such a talented writer. But this one follows Emma Blair. She married her high school sweetheart, Jesse. On their first wedding anniversary, Jesse boards a helicopter and it ends up going down and he is never seen again. So he is assumed dead. Emma is absolutely heartbroken, but she ends up finding love again in a friend named Sam. They end up getting engaged and Emma is over the moon, but then she receives a phone call saying that Jesse has been found and he is ready to pick up where they left off. So now Emma has to choose who she wants to spend the rest of her life with, and it's kind of the story of that. This is the one author who can consistently make me cry every single story that she writes, which is a very hard feat to do. Like, I do not cry at books, but these stories, man, they get me every time. This was such an insane roller coaster of emotions. The character development that Emma had to go through was absolutely wild. We saw her falling in love with Jesse at the beginning. We saw her heartbreak when he went down in the helicopter. Then we see her falling in love again with Sam, and then having to decide between her first love and this new love that she found. I don't know what I would do if that situation ever arose to me. Like, that is wild. I was team Sam 100% of the way. I wanted them to end up together. I just liked them so much better. I thought that they were so adorable. The ending was also just absolute perfection. Like, I was full on sobbing, like ugly crying, but smiling at the same time. Like, it was just so good. Honestly, I think I might like this more than I liked Evelyn Hugo, which is crazy because I worshipped that book, but this one got me. Coming in at number 4, I'm cheating a little bit because I'm saying 2 books, but they're companion novels. So I feel like we're gonna ignore that they are 2 separate books. We're just gonna lump them in as number 4. But it is Fly With Me and Fall For Him by Andy Burke. So Fly With Me follows Olive Murphy. She is a traveling nurse with a fear of flying. She is on her first ever flight when somebody has a medical emergency and she saves his life. Unfortunately, she misses her connecting flight that she needed to catch in order to make it to a marathon race that she was going to run in honor of her brother. Co-pilot Stella Soriano offers her a ride to the race, and they end up spending the day together. When the video of Olive saving the man's life goes viral, it brings a lot of sales to the airline. So Stella proposes the idea of fake dating in order to gain her pilot wings. But as the two grow closer, they can't deny their chemistry. This was such a cute sapphic romance. I loved every second of it. Fake dating is one of my favorite tropes. I will eat it up every time, and it's funny because I was not the biggest fan of Stella in the beginning of this book. I thought that she was very abrupt and just didn't really think before she spoke. But as the story goes on, she did grow on me. I think that Olive and Stella's chemistry was off the charts. I think that their banter was so much fun. Their connection just felt very genuine as we read on. And this definitely explored some deeper topics such as grief and anxiety, mental health struggles, and misogyny. There's also such a contrast between the complicated relationship that Olive had with her family versus Stella and her father, and it was so well done. And then Fall For Him follows Dylan, who ends up falling through the ceiling of his very hot neighbor Derek's apartment when there's a flood. So the two have to become roommates while the apartment is being fixed, and it was also just so stinking cute. I think that Andy Burke just does banter so well. She's really good at having the characters start off as friends and then slowly become something more, and you really see their relationships develop. And this is another one that kind of handles some deeper topics. It focuses mainly on ADHD, anxiety, and grief, and I think that, again, Andy Burke just does an incredible job with these topics. There's also a big chunk of the book that talks about medication, and I thought it was done very, very well. There's also a dog who is like this giant goofball, and I absolutely adored him so much. But yeah, both of these books are coming in at number 4. I don't care. I'm counting them as one because honestly, they're kind of interconnected because there's nods of the first story in the second story. So I'm counting it as one. All right, it's fine. We're on to our top 3, baby. Coming in at number 3 is The Charm Offensive. This is by Alison Cochran, and obsessed with this. So this one follows Dev. He is a producer for Ever After, which is a reality TV show that is kind of like The Bachelor, but he is in charge of helping the male lead form connections. Dev's own love life is a bit of a mess after his last breakup, and then in walks his toughest client yet. His name is Charlie. He is a tech entrepreneur who had a little bit of a meltdown at work, so he agreed to do the show in order to help his reputation. So as Dev tries to help Charlie feel a little bit more comfortable in front of the camera and with the female contestants, they grow closer and they cannot deny their chemistry any longer. I loved this so much. The majority of the story, I was just kicking my little feetsies and squealing. I thought they were so freaking adorable. I absolutely love Charlie. I wanted to hug him so badly throughout the whole story, which like would have been a no-go based off of like him as a person. What a little cinnamon roll. And then Dev is also just a sweet little angel. He was so loving and caring and intuitive towards Charlie right from their very first meeting. Their friendship turned romance was just so freaking sweet. Like, I loved them together so much. I loved watching them go closer. I think that their chemistry was off the charts. Like, it was so obvious how much these two cared for one another. This is another one where the mental health discussions were so well done, in my opinion. And I honestly think that they were probably some of the best parts of the book. Charlie has OCD and anxiety, while Dev had depression. And I really appreciated how it never felt like the love conquers all trope, and it was a very genuine conversation that happened throughout the story. It's just so good. If you haven't read it, like, please, my babies need to be in your life. Next up, coming in at number 2 is Mistress of Lies. This is by K.M. Enright, and I freaking love this. Like, I don't think anybody understands how obsessed with this I was when I read it. So this follows Shan Leclerc. She is the daughter of a disgraced blood worker, and she has just murdered her father. She has spent many years under the pseudonym Sparrow, and she has a network of spies that she utilizes to help keep her unblooded brother safe. That's when Shan unexpectedly meets Samuel Hutchinson. He is a bastard. He has a very special gift that Shan convinces him to use for her cause. This reminds me so much of In the Ravenous Dark by A.M. Strickland, which was my favorite book in 2021, I believe. So I obviously love this one as well. There is just something about cunning characters that literally play games with everybody that just gets me going. I did not trust a single one of these characters, not one, but I was so invested in what was going to happen next. I really liked how there was a point of view from both Shan and Samuel. I think that it really helped push the story forward, and we got the motivations for what was going on from both of these characters, which I thought really helped you feel connected to them. There's also a 3-way polyamorous relationship in this that I ate up. Like, I don't care what anybody says, it was so good. The magic system is also very creative. It has blood magic, and I was just so intrigued by it. It also had vampires and so much politics and scheming. Ugh, if you have not read this book, like, please do. It is so much fun. All in all, I support women's wrongs, and that's all you need to know about this book. And now, coming in at number 1 is technically 3 books, but it's fine. It is The Nevernight Chronicles by J. Kristoff. I put reading this trilogy off for so long because I was so scared that I wasn't going to enjoy it as much as everybody else and their mother does, but oh my god, it blew me out of the water. The whole trilogy essentially follows Mio Crivera. She is a 16-year-old who joins the Red Church, which is a school for assassins. She begins partaking in a series of tests against the other students that will allow her to become one of the 4 blades that serve under the Blessed Lady of Murder. If she succeeds, she will be able to avenge the death of her family with the help from her little shadow friend. Like I said, I put reading this off for so long because I was so intimidated by the way that it is written. It has footnotes, which I was not convinced that I would enjoy, but I listened to this whole trilogy on audio, and honestly I think that that is the way to go with this series, because when the narrator is reading the story to you, they incorporate the footnotes into the actual story, so it kind of feels like the narrator is breaking the fourth wall and talking to you as the reader, and it was just so intriguing. I honestly fell in love with every single one of these characters. Even the ones that I hated, I loved to hate them. Mio Crivera is probably one of the most interesting characters I have ever read about. She is hilariously snarky. She is so bitchy. I just thought she was so full of surprises. Like, it was so interesting to see the way her mind works. Also, huge fan of Mr. Kindly and the other friend that joins her at some point in the story, which I don't want to spoil how that happens, but love it. Love him, love her. This was such a bloody, violent, gory book, and I ate up every second of it. Like, honestly, the whole trilogy is just so crazy with the blood and the gore and the violence, and it was everything that I wanted in a book. I think that for the majority of the trilogy, I did not see anything coming. I was shocked and blown away for so many of the twists. But yeah, Nevernight Chronicles, 10 out of 10, 20 out of 20, 100 out of 100. I honestly feel like rereading it, and I just finished them in like December, so just miss Mia. Alright everybody, so those were my top 10 books of 2024. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books, and please let me know what your top 10 books were, because I am always interested in picking up some new books. So please let me know if there are any like hidden gems that I am missing in my life. I will see you all in my next video. Goodbye!